Hey, Shalom, everybody. Shalom. Welcome to the Way Remnant. I'm Jeff Brannon.
And I'm Miranda Brannon.
And we are live tonight. Excited to be here. We appreciate everybody giving us last Sunday off. We celebrated our 3rd anniversary. Got to have some fun touring around a place.
A museum.
Of
course.
Yeah.
It's us. Where else are we going?
Boy, wild and crazy Brandons there. They went to a museum. That was fun. But
and had an amazing time.
We really did. We had a ball and ended up in an antique shop. Go figure.
Which you cannot beat that.
Yeah, that was great stuff. So we had a lot of fun. We appreciate you guys letting us have a Sunday off. And we are so excited to be here tonight. Guys, we have a treat for you tonight. We have some people that you're very familiar with. If you're familiar with Take on the World TV, we've got Zachariah and Francesca Jones. They may not know them by that name, but
right.
It's Vader Bear and MrsVader. And we learned tonight, guys. We learned tonight, exclusive, first time ever, live, anytime we're going to see Miss Vader Bear. So I'm pretty excited about that. Pretty cool. Let's just go ahead and dive in. We're going to bring them on. And Shalom, guys. Good to see you.
Shalom. Thanks for having us.
Welcome to the Way Remnant. Guys, we are so glad that you are here tonight. How's things going?
It's going awesome. I want to shout out to my mom for coming over and watching our 4 children so that we can both be a part of the show. So we're super excited to be here.
Oh, man, we are so excited to have you here. We've already got quite a few people in the chat. We've got a lot of folks. So let's see. I'm going to scroll back up. We've got Mrs. Comancho. Let's see. Shout out to there's my mom, Lynn Hobbs. There you go. You got to have your moms, right? We got Mrs. Vader. Mrs. Vader, can you do a little wave for everybody, just so they can see who Miss Vader is? We didn't know. It could be the beard. I don't know. You just never know these days. There we go. So,
I love being in the chat. I love talking to people.
Yeah. We've got shout out to DJ Sampson, Mr. Sampson out there. Got Kelly Joe Maccabee. Who else we got? CC Bell. Guys, pardon if I can't read your names real good. Austin York. Sparrow Chirp all the way in the other room. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, there we go. She's live in the other room. Pepper Mandy, Shalom. Good to see you guys. Hey, we're
Mandy.
Yeah, so you guys will know a lot of these guys too. That is so cool. It's so fun when we get to do this with
like crossovers.
Yeah, crossover shows with other Take on the World family. So
yeah,
why don't you guys introduce yourselves just a little bit before we get into our questions, in case we have some people that don't know who you are. There we go.
Sweet. All right. Well, I'm Vader Bear. I host a show on Take on the World. I also have my own YouTube channel, Circle of the Earth Fellowship, and this is my beautiful wife. We live in Utah. We have 4 children, and we came to Torah and everything, and we'll get into that more, but. The Torah has really blessed our lives in so many ways. All the relationships we've made and people we've met, even the ups and downs have all been blessings. So we're happy to be a part of Take on the World, and obviously a part of your show tonight.
Oh, well, that's great. That's great. So we're going to play this like the newlyweds. So guys, I'm going to have you answer for each other. So it's going to be great.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm really kidding. I'm just kidding.
Next level right there.
Panic has already set in on Vader. So I love it. No, we'll be really good. So let's just dive in. What year did you guys come to Torah? And both of you can answer the questions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I would say like between 2016 and 2017 is when I started kind of being forced into the position of Torah. And what I mean by that is my personal journey was one that's kind of maybe interesting because I didn't come to Torah till after I came to biblical cosmology.
Really?
So once that happened, and I reread I heard from a lot of people there's scriptures in the Bible that talk about this. And so taking the Father at his word from learning the truth of Genesis 1. I use that same type of interpretation for the rest of Scripture. So when I got to things that were very pinpoint blank of you shouldn't do this or you should do this, I can no longer, at least for myself, interpret that into a way that kind of got me out of that instruction. So were
you already a believer before this?
Yeah, I was already a believer. I would say my but my cosmological view was very much intertwined with my religious view, I should say. Yeah, I was a Christian. I grew up between basically Southern Baptists, and then my dad would be more on the Catholic side.
You're kind of a Baptist.
Kind of, but so my dad, even though he was kind of raised that side, very so much rebelled. So at a point in my life, my dad even made a suggestion to me that Yeshua was actually the son of perdition. He was here tricking everyone, right? Wow. So that changed later in on his life. And I lost my dad in 2016. So and that kind of was a big shakeup for me personally. So I think that kind of made me start questioning things I had never thought to question before.
Wow.
So yeah, in a nutshell.
Wow. So you were about 2016, 2017. What about you, Francesca?
Mm-hmm. Our stories differ like vastly.
Okay.
Because he came to biblical cosmology first, and that's not what I don't think I found that until after Torah.
Yeah, it's like I came to Torah because of that. And then so I'll let you talk then.
Okay, so like for me, he was like, hey, we shouldn't celebrate these mainstream holidays anymore. And I was very of the opinion, like, what are you talking, like, so naive. And I was just like, what are you talking about? It's just for fun.
Right.
And so the first one that went was Halloween. That was probably the easiest one to give up. Like none of our children have ever had a Halloween. That was like something we got when we were engaged. Mm-hmm. I took my niece trick-or-treating. And he was like, why? And
she asked me to come, and I was like, no, I'm not going. Why would you take her?
And he like kind of explained it, like what it really was. And then like once the scales start to fall off, it's like kind of hard. You can't just be like, well, I'm going to do it anyways. Yeah. So we had made the decision, like our daughter came first. And at that point, I had made the decision, okay, well, this isn't something we're going to do with our family. And then the next one was Easter. And he was like, do you know where Easter egg hunts come from?
Right.
And it like blew my mind. I was like, what? This is horrible. All this paganism. And so that one wasn't so hard to get rid of either. But like what the churches have done now is they've turned it into Resurrection Sunday. Oh, so we don't do the Easter egg hunts anymore. It's Resurrection Sunday. And it's like, no, we
don't do Halloween. We do trunk or treat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then the hardest was Christmas, just because like, they say like the spirit of Christmas. Like there really is a spirit that goes along with that. And so the first year that we had given up Christmas, we weren't in Torah yet. It was like right before we came to Torah. So like the scales were falling off.
Yeah.
And I felt that first Christmas, like knowing that like we had turned down our family to participate and just not replacing it with anything, just doing nothing.
Right.
I felt like an emptiness. And that first Christmas that we had given up, I knew that we were making the right decision and for the right reasons. But it was just like a downer. And I felt like, oh gosh, are my children going to think that they're missing out? Like when they get older? But no, the answer is no. They're not going to think that because they have a foundation of what it's really about, whereas I didn't. Like I grew up doing it.
Yeah.
And so I just thought this is a fun, wonderful time of the year. And it's just rooted in so much evil.
And I think a thing that we kind of did differently than that was done with us is our children know what Halloween is. They know what Christmas is. They know what Easter is.
Right.
We tell them about it and explain to them why we don't celebrate it, obviously within child's terms.
Right.
And so even with cosmology, we do that so that they understand that, like, hey, when you get out into the real world, not everyone thinks the way that we do.
And they have to make those decisions. So we say, hey, this is, and because we do have family who do those things and believe the way that they do, it's like, hey, they do this because this is what they believe. We do this because this is what the scriptures say. When you get older, you have to make that decision for yourself. And so our main goal is just to say, take it back to the word.
Yep.
Well, what does the Bible say?
And they see us doing these things and they see the blessings and, like, again, they don't have anything to weigh it upon, which is, I guess, a good thing, obviously, that they don't, because it's much harder to get rid of. But there is some, like, in them, I see some desire to do those things, right? So we try to alleviate that, just as an example, like with Halloween, like they have costumes that they can wear any day. We don't do it just a day.
And they get candy every day.
And at night when they get a dessert, right, they get to go into the candy bucket and pick out a piece of candy. So we don't shelter them. We don't put them in a place where they don't get both sides, but we're very honest with them as well. So
That's good.
anyways, kind of off topic, but our children are super like our
based.
Well, and it's like super important to us. Like we spend a lot of time and effort. She does a lot of the homeschooling with them, and they're way above like if they would be in school.
Okay, so that is off topic.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
That is true.
Let's talk about something else.
Okay, so from holidays, then there was a study that was recommended to me on the feasts. And I was like, well, I'm down to learn anything. And it had I think it had the 5 and then also Hanukkah. So it didn't have Purim, right? Not commanded of us. Hanukkah, not commanded of us. No big deal. And then once I did that study on each one and I was going through Torah to learn about them and learn more, then it was like, oh, we're never going back. This is what this is. And and he had actually come to me and he was like, hey, these feasts exist. We should do them. And I was like, he didn't give me any information. He was like, you should look into them. And I was like, oh, so he knew. But then I did the study and then we started learning
developing
together.
It. Because like our first Sukkot we did just at our house. We didn't even go anywhere.
Yeah, when we first,
it was like 2 or 3. It was like 2
for the first couple of years. Yeah, we just did like for people who were on the same path as us locally. We would get together for like a feast night, and we would do the feast, and then we would talk to our children throughout the week. But like at that time when we started, we weren't traveling like we do now.
So
and we still have not, as a couple, been able to travel. The first feast that we got to travel to was with Ian and his wife. We went to Passover at their house. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was great. But you weren't feeling good at the time.
No, I was having major liver issues. And ended up in the hospital right after that. So.
Yeah, so
that's the enemy just trying to get at you.
Yeah. So okay, so I just want to kind of get this straight. So Zach, you were coming to Torah because of flat Earth. All right. Biblical cosmology. I've heard it. I'm not going to mention a certain ministry that called it fringe or junk theology. And Rob Skiba, the late Rob Skiba, talked about a lot of people coming to Torah, coming to Yah through biblical cosmology, flat Earth. And so you came into Torah through this, and then little bits and pieces. Your wife was having the scales ripped off of her eyes because of these false set apart days, correct?
Yeah. So basically, I was taking the word very much serious. So when it was, talking about the husband not being a tyrant, I went to her and I said, hey, I'm not going to participate in Christmas anymore. If you want to do Christmas, I'm not going to stop you from doing it, but I won't participate, and I'll let the children know why I'm not participating in it.
Okay. Can I just stop you right there? Thank you. That is beautiful, because I see so many. I see it on the husband's side if he comes to Torah first, or I see the wife if she comes to Torah first. They beat the other one up, make them feel so bad, and that is just not the way to do it. The Bible, the Holy Spirit comes to us as a gentleman in love and in convicting us of these things, and then we turn around in our zeal and try to beat people up and drag them. And people have enough drug problems nowadays. They don't need to be drugged into Torah. So that's great. That's beautiful.
So
he was really like leading in a very loving and respectful way, for sure.
So I kind of wanted to unpack mine just a little bit more, and because I think and I take this kind of same philosophy with my children. So I'm going to step back even from FE, because where I came to FE was actually the book of Enoch. So and I came to the book of Enoch through a secular video game in which I was playing, the character that I played as was Death, the fourth horseman. Okay. Right. And in this story, it talked about these characters that I had never heard of before. And so once I had played it, it intrigued me. So I went and looked up those names. One of those names was Uriel. That led me to R.H. Charles's, Enoch and the Dead Sea Scrolls and all that. And I started reading that. From that led me to biblical cosmology, which then led me to, okay, wow, if I have to take Genesis 1 seriously, I don't have to do this mental gymnastics. That means when I get later down into the book, I can't use that same mental gymnastics that I had been using as a quote unquote Christian. So that's like, and kind of just a little more depacking is from that, lifestyle that I was living during the time of like playing those video games, as an example.
Right.
I wasn't acting out, right? Because I was forgiven for everything, even if I sinned openly, like that's how I genuinely felt from what I was taught. So, so once I came to Torah, it was like game face. It's like, okay, no, wait, this is for a real inheritance. This isn't no longer a make pretend, spiritual place in the clouds. This is a real covenant. This is a real deal,
right,
so to speak.
Man, that is good. Hey, to quote Hank Hill, you came to Torah and flat earth through video games. There we go. Wow, that's beautiful, man. I think that's God can use anything.
Oh yeah,
he used a donkey in the Old Testament, and so gosh, he can definitely use me. So I think that's awesome. That's amazing. That is so amazing. When you guys may have different answers on this, because you came to Torah at little bits of different times. How did your flesh react? Did your flesh react in a negative way when you decided to start keeping Torah? Was it in full rebellion mode at all?
The Sabbath was the feast. No, the Sabbath I would say was harder to keep the Sabbath, because it was like I was watching a friend do it, and I was like, "Hey, what are you doing for your Sabbath? Like, how do you do this thing?" And she had explained to me that basically that the word says like these are the only things that it gives you, and like how Yah speaks to you in other ways convictions, like the convictions that you get come from Yah.
Right.
So like if one family thinks no electronics on the Sabbath, she's like, well, that's like their conviction from Yah. It doesn't have to be your conviction.
Yeah.
And so I had a problem with, I was like, I can't do dishes. Like I can't do laundry. Like my house has to be a mess. Like I'm a neat person.
Yeah.
And so that aspect had bothered me. I think that was like the hardest thing. But
and because most of our family does not view the way we view.
That was really hard.
We had to capitulate to be able to celebrate birthdays or celebrate, other things, and to where it felt like we would capitulate to their side, but then they would never capitulate to our side.
Yeah.
I think it's changed now.
Yeah, that's true.
We're like grounded now.
Yeah, now we've come to where it's like, hey, if it's Sunday, sorry.
Saturday.
Sorry. Yeah, if it's Sunday, we're open, but if it's Saturday, it's like, sorry. But what we found out what makes it harder, right, is that the system is kind of set up to do everything on Saturday, right? That's when things are open, and even more so when we live in Utah and there's a heavy Mormon presence. Those things, are echoed in the society itself as well. So
everything is shut down on Sunday here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was a challenge, but for me, I would say I've always been a dreamer.
Okay.
I want to take a quick second and kind of explain something that was really important in our life and our walk together. So when we had first started dating, it was like 8 months into it. I had this dream, and it was extremely vivid. It was like I can still picture it right now in my head, like from A to Z, the whole thing. Right. And when I had that dream, I had told her about it, and in the very such detail as I could explain it. And about 2 weeks later, we were having conflict in our relationship, and to be short, that dream came a lot. It happened in real life. All the details, all the stops in the way, all of that happened in real life. And when we had talked after that had happened, we had remembered, oh my gosh, you remember that dream? Everything literally just happened that way. That was one of the reasons why we were like, okay, yeah, we had already knew that we both loved God. We wanted to be people each in a relationship with Yah, but we didn't know what that meant yet. Mm-hmm. And but that kind of concreted our relationship. So now, like when I was younger, I was attacked a lot in dreams and nightmares and things like that, like repeated things, whereas like I couldn't get out of the loop. And then that had kind of gone away for a bit. But then during our relationship, that I started getting attacked again. Well, then it went away. But then after we came to Torah, it came back kind of even worse. Like I was seeing even worse things than I had ever seen before.
Wow.
And so basically at a point, I just prayed to the Father again, like get these evil, unclean spirits away from me. And, that really helped. And just a little caveat there, like, when I was a child, when I was growing up, when I was a teenager, one of my biggest questions was where demons came from. And I never got a consistent answer from any of the pastors I ever talked to in any of the locations that I went to about that subject. So that in with the video game, it's tied in. I always had that question, and I feel like the reason why I give Enoch such validity is because its explanation of where unclean spirit comes from makes so much sense and is like actually applicable in my life from my experiences. And it clarified those issues to where like I could come to more understanding of the Father's relationship to me, if that makes sense. It was a blockade that was kind of like, wait, did you create these, or did, like, why would you create these? Why would you do that to us? And that's basically the answer that I had gotten until I got to Enoch. So another big important piece of it in my life, and ties in with the dreams, for me personally.
Oh, wait a minute. He's got dreams going on. That's one way that Yah brought you in with Torah was your dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's awesome. That's awesome. I don't know if you guys have heard our testimony before, but that's after Miranda was baptized in the Holy Spirit. That's when Yah began to bring her into Torah.
Well, he tried.
And
then I listened to people, and
yeah.
years and years and years went by, and then finally he started talking to me through dreams and visions and showing me scripture, and that was about a year before I met Jeff. Yeah,
so pretty neat stuff. So
that's awesome. Really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, what real quick, one of the dreams I have, it was actually my crucial thing too, because I had seen those FE videos and I still had put it off.
Right.
But I literally had this dream, and the dream was I was basically looking at this dark, cloudy sky, and all of a sudden all these orange spots were in the sky, and then these huge rocks were falling straight down. And I was so terrified, and I turned around and I started running. But then I had I heard a voice that was like, "Do not be afraid, like stand." And I turned around and I saw like the wall and the fire and all that coming to me. But when it came to me, boom, I woke up. So this is no joke. So I have one video on the Vader Bear channel. If you go look at that video, it was shortly after I had moved. We had moved to Utah, which was like in 2016. And basically I was the very next night, I should actually say, I had driven to the gas station to just to fill up some gas. And as I had parked and walked in to pay, that's where the video starts. And literally there were all these fireballs of different sizes flying from west to east over the Salt Lake Valley. And I kept waiting for them to go down, but they never went down. They just kept flying straight, and they were just tons of them. So go check out the video. But anyways, that right there it was kind of like I had always been afraid of this asteroid, of these meteorites, etc. So he used that as like, see, you don't need to be afraid of it. That's not something you need to fear. Yeah. And once I faced that fear, the very next day he said, see those fireballs? They're not what you think they are. You know, now I'm not making a claim as to what they are. It's pretty crazy. The video doesn't do it justice. But anyways, I just wanted to add that.
If one of you could type the thing into the private comments, I'll have it come up on the screen.
Okay.
How to get to that video. But
I've had a dream about the fireballs.
Yeah.
I was never afraid of fireballs or anything, or asteroids. But yeah, I've had a dream of that, and it was like an end time dream. But yeah. So it's interesting.
I thought it was end times. I literally thought it was I was a conspiracy theorist before I ever came to FE. Right. And I went through a really rough time in my life where I thought it was going to be the end any day. You know, like I didn't want to leave the house because I thought, hey, I'm going to leave the house and it's going to start. And then my wife is going to be all alone. I'll never be able to get back to her. So I was mentally and spiritually shut down for a while.
Well, you know, and I go ahead.
That's easy to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can agree. I think sometimes people can get we're supposed to follow the word in balance.
Yeah.
And and if we get too far into one subject at a time, I see this over and over and over again as Yah has opened the door and opened up knowledge to, whether it was to get us away from the Catholic Church with Martin Luther. Martin Luther didn't have it all figured out, but he had a part of the revelation, And then you go down through every great revivalist, Charles Finney, you go through all these guys, Smith Wigglesworth, you go through all the healing revivals, the charismatic revival, the word revival, all of these great revival things going on all the way up until now. and everybody's had just a little bit of piece of the puzzle. And that's one thing I like that Ian uses, that you guys use, is that puzzle piece, because each one of us has that little small piece of the puzzle that maybe no one else has.
Yeah.
And if we all get together and put them on, and not just say my puzzle piece is better than your puzzle piece, and we get them all together, man, we have a big picture. And I think that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of the whole point of the table, is to do that exact thing, to bring your puzzle pieces and share them. And it's like, I know you're going to disagree with me. I actually jealously observe the right to be wrong, right? Because I've been wrong about so many things. I've had apologetics about the heliocentric model. You know, I've had apologetics about Christmas and Easter and all those things. So I have personally been wrong. So I am now willing to ego check even more than I've ever been in my life, to say, hey, am I doing what I think or what the word says?
Stay humble.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So how did your family react when you guys started coming into Torah?
How are they reacting currently still?
Still?
Yeah.
Actually, it was kind of like he was saying earlier, like in the beginning, we would wave. Like we knew what the truth was, and we would be like, oh my gosh, we don't want them to think that Torah is burdensome, that we don't love them. We'll, sacrifice, and we'll go to the bowling alley on Saturday for so-and-so's birthday.
Right.
And then we got really convicted, and it was like, listen, you can't preach to the world and like live your life as this testimony that you're going to take the Sabbath off and it's going to be a day of rest, and you're going to be set apart. You're not going to spend money or trade currency or what have you. And then not work, and then tell the world it's okay for you to serve me on the Sabbath day, but I refuse to work. So like going to the bowling alley, like it's all okay for you to be working here so that we can bowl.
Yeah.
That's not Torah.
Yeah.
And so we just had to be like really firm and be like, this is what we believe. You know this. If you want to respect it, great. If you don't, like, we'll see you at the next gathering.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like as soon as we kind of put our I wouldn't say foot down, because it's not really that type of relationship. But once we kind of expressed, hey, we're adamant, we're serious about this. Like we're not going to kind of wane anymore. I feel like that kind of opened the door for them to actually start asking questions, where I feel as when we wavered,
we had like 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
It would kind of lessen, like we thought, it was like our plan, like, oh, if we do that, then they'll still love us. Right. And we can still develop this relationship, but actually we butted heads then. But now when we're like, hey, this is the way it's going to be for our family, and they see, because I'm the youngest out of 4 siblings. So it's kind of, my siblings are like, I'm not going to take advice from my baby brother, right. So there is I feel like there might be a little of pride in that way from them, but like, how could he be right? He's been here less than all of us.
His sister's family does Passover, and but they don't do any of the other. So when I did that study on the feast, it was with his sister.
Really?
And for me, it was just like my entire world had changed. And for her, she adopted Passover.
Yeah.
So they do a Passover feast. But then that was it. That was the only takeaway. So she gets like a portion, like she has an idea of it.
Yeah.
And just a quick addition is that I feel like now, though, that we've kind of taken that, like, hey, this is the way our family operates. They've actually been more open to like, so why do you like, how does this, what do you mean by this? What does this do? And so I feel like that's kind of opened up. But when it comes to biblical cosmology, it's like that is
Your mom is on the fence.
My mom's on the fence. My brother actually fully believes in biblical cosmology, but he is kind of Christian, like a modern Christian. I'll just say it like that. Like I don't like he goes to like a mainline church.
Sure.
So
yeah.
So
on the flip side, my parents have no idea
Yeah.
They don't know anything.
Yeah.
They have no idea that we celebrate the feast.
But then even if we brought it
or,
up, your dad would just be like,
I
don't want to talk about
it. I love them, but it's like pearls to swine.
Yeah.
There's no point.
Yeah.
And my sister, she was here for Passover one year, and she was so respectful. She like ate Torah observant. Like anytime she comes to visit, and she like loves seafood.
The week of unleavened bread and seafood.
Yeah, so she like loves seafood, but anytime she comes, she's like, "No, I respect you guys. Like, I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna
bring it into your house."
And we never
Nice.
we don't ask people that at all. She just took it upon herself. But Ian, maybe did you do it with him, Jeff? Where you guys were talking about Passover and how like, because when we started, we just wanted everybody to be included. And so we were like, come learn about the feast. Come to my home, eat with us. Let's share a meal so that we can like tell you all about it and like do a teaching. Yeah. So we learned.
Yeah, we learned and kind of been like,
and especially for Passover.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like we've had to ego check each other, like instead of being like, well, we already did it, so we're just gonna believe that it's okay to do it. We went back to the scripture and been like, hey, and that's really kind of a cool thing between our relationship because she was never super interested in the biblical cosmology outside of it,
right?
And I was interested in the feast, but my mind doesn't think like that, if that makes any sense. Whereas to her, she was like, she was soaking it up and being able to kind of chew on it and give it to me in a way that I could understand. Whereas I did this kind of same thing with the biblical and science evidence for.
He would come to me and be like, the earth is flat. And I'd be like, are you off your rocker, my man? What are you talking about? The earth is flat. And he'd be like, read this verse again. And I would be like, I would do mental gymnastics. I'd be like, no way. Like, and this was before Torah. And so then when I got into Torah, I was like, oh my gosh, this scripture says, like, what do you mean they're moving the sun backwards?
Right.
Like, what do you mean they're stopping like the
sun and moon from continuing? So
and he was like, just explained it in like, oh, the world is teaching you to not trust your own experience. Do you feel like you're spending thousands of miles? No, I don't. So I really had to think things. But once I came to Torah, I was like, oh snap, the world is flat. There's no going back.
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing is like we kind of switched. Like we were feeding each other like what the Father was, leading us to look into. Yeah, and that helped both of our relationship, and then we could relate it as we came up together. So
absolutely, and that's key. That you each have your own relationship with the Father, and you're each listening to what He is saying, and does that not strengthen the marriage?
And we see like just look at the statistics. It doesn't matter if you're Christian or not, right? The divorce statistics are what they are across the board. And so I think obviously that the Christian side does have less, right? And I'm not, I'm not throwing any stones. I'm just saying that for us, like, oh wow, when he said I would rather you not, I hate marriage, it wasn't no longer this I hate marriage. It was like I hate marriage. Sorry, I hate divorce. Sorry, I missed
right.
You hate marriage.
Yeah, I hate marriage. No, I hate divorce. So
I hate everything.
Took that.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Did
I'm not
you
playing around. He's stuck. You stuck.
Did you guys lose any friends when you came out of the Torah closet? I mean, you're coming out of the globe closet and Torah
we
closet.
We don't have that many friends.
Yeah.
We don't have any friends to lose. Okay.
Yeah, that was Miranda.
So I would say we kind of did, right? Because some of the behaviors of so I'll just say this, like I've always been a very outspoken person. So when I believe something, like I would go to my friends and say, hey guys, you need to look at this. And when it came to biblical cosmology, I lost a lot of friends, me personally, not like
our
friends. So for her, I would say she lost friends because of those things, like she couldn't do things on Saturdays, or But I will say this, since we came to Torah, we've made a lot more friends than we had previously.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and we kind of lucky because we have 2 local Sabbath Saturday services within driving distance.
Wow.
So we got to meet people from the first one we went to, and now this new one that we're going to. So that's kind of something we're fortunate, which kind of blows my mind that we live in Utah and that's available. So
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Wow.
So this is one of my favorite questions to ask.
Okay.
I feel like we could write books on just this one question. How has Torah enhanced your relationship with Yah?
You want to go first?
Oh, I have notes. I think that when you come to Torah, you're learning like who he really is.
Yeah.
So like when you're in churchianity, you're sitting under somebody telling you who he is.
Right.
And when you come to, for me, when I came to Torah, like I had to dive in, and it was like it was like an all or nothing eventually, you know, and because you keep learning who he is, and you grow in relationship, and then because you love him so much, like these are not burdensome things, like you want to do them for him, like the Sabbath, it is not burdensome. Keeping the feast is not burdensome, like not eating bacon, not burdensome. Okay. Yeah. So I really think that when your relationship grows, because of Torah, you're really learning who he is and what he expects, and you want to fulfill those commandments and statutes.
That's really, really well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, you start taking it more as like a fatherly advice, as opposed to, like some, poster on the wall with a list of rules, right? It's like a way to draw closer to him just by being obedient.
Well, and you realize like he's not doing this as like some distant God that you don't know. Like he's made these commandments and these statutes for your benefit, to bless you. They bless you. And when you have children and you realize like you're literally raising these little people for the kingdom.
Yeah.
Like that is the most important thing I will ever do. And all glory be to Yah. And in the end, like that's Yah, really. But their foundation really comes from home. And so once you realize that like when you're reading like these are for all generations to come, it's not a joke. Like you have to explain like why we're keeping what we're keeping, and hoping that your grandchildren are doing the same things, but like even better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm gonna step away for a second. I gotta grab a drink really quickly.
He's thirsty.
Yeah, and you want your kids to take you seriously. And if they see you sticking to your guns of what you believe is right and putting those boundaries in place and standing firm, I think your child is going to have more respect for you than if you were to, let them do whatever and then later on say, well, we really shouldn't have been doing that. Or I only did that because so-and-so wants us to do that, but I really don't feel that's right. Like,
that's such a good point. So one time, like when we were teeter-tottering, we had gone we went to the park as like a family and flown kites. And then we went and got ices at the gas station, but it was Sabbath. And like, they're not used to us ever like breaking it. And at this point, because we've been doing this for years now. And so then my son, our oldest son, he comes and he says, Mom, can we go get ices? And I was like, son, it's the Sabbath. No, we're not going to go get ices. And my daughter was like, but that one time we went and did the ices. And so
kids will get
they will humble you. Am I right?
Yeah.
So we were like,
that's where we had wrong. We had to, like, that was an ego check. Like we were wrong. We sinned.
We made a mistake.
We did a mistake. And so,
going forward, we don't do this, and this is why.
Yep.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, because I'm telling you, the most beautiful thing about Torah, it's just his instructions and his loving instructions for us. And when we start learning how to love Yah, like he wants us to love him, because he says, hey, you want to love me? This is how you love me. You want to love your fellow man? This is how you love your fellow man. And when we start doing that, it's amazing. He created us. I mean, it's the owner's manual. When we want to find out how to keep the car tuned up, we flip that thing open and, oh, you're supposed to have the oil checked here. You're supposed to have the tires rotated here. You're supposed to have all this. We don't pay any mind to that. And we know in the natural, if we don't do those things, the car messes up, right? But the used car, it's not that big a deal. You buy the new car, oh, you're like breaking that thing open. You're like, wow, I didn't even know these things existed in this stuff, You're all serious about it, and you want to take care. And that's the same kind of relationship that we need to have with the Father, and it's so beautiful. And I love how both of you kept saying it's not burdensome. It's not burdensome, because it's truly not.
And like for me personally, how it enhanced is I had a pretty rough father, and I wouldn't say for like, I'm a good dad. I'm not bragging, but since Torah, the way that I view my children has changed a lot, because the kind of goals and mindset that I'm trying to instill into them was not possible pre-Torah, right? Because but I've been fortunate to,
I think when you're a good father, it's probably you have like an example.
Yep, exactly. So once I kind of I understood him as my Abba, like as someone I could actually lean on.
Right.
Once I understood that, like that enhanced, and I would say just in general, like we kind of talked about friends or whatever before, but like I feel like we were at the like bottom of this really deep pit, right, in our theology. And but like as soon as we came to Torah, like the water rushed up and is like pushing us up with the water, right? Like it's not coming down on top of us, it's like pushing us up. And I use that explanation because it's like I feel like we're swelling, like the community, our friends, our people, our understanding, our desire to like continue to read scripture and have him be a lot of a part of our lives instead of just a little every Sunday. It's like a day in, day out thing. So yeah, it's just he's enhanced us by our relationship with him, if that makes sense.
Well, I love it. I think I just want to kind of go on a little bit further with that. When we raise our children in an atmosphere where we're really teaching them the Yah's word and how he loves us, I just want to encourage people that are watching, we're called to be set apart. And I'm not telling you that you don't go out and educate your kids, and you're not looking for them to make a living and everything. But when the Father first started dealing with me about coming to Torah, even before I even heard of Torah, or anything like that, even as a pastor, one of the first things that Yah began to wake me up with and pull me out of Babylon was this whole mentality that we've got to rush our kids to get these good grades so they can go to college, so they can go to this and they can do all this stuff. And one of the very first things that Yah impressed upon me was that I needed to raise my daughter to be a godly wife and to be a godly mother. And that was the most important thing that I could do in her life, is to show her how to do that.
Right.
Instead of rushing them out to throw them into an atheistic college and then wonder why they get turned, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so
just culture is saying the ultimate goal is to raise your kids to be rich.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have a lot of money in bank.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
not into it. Not approved by me.
I just love how Torah, it just kind of opens your eyes to the simplicity of what Yah has created life to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful thing.
It gives you a whole new priority list.
It does. Hey, we're list people,
It
right?
does.
Yeah. Maybe I have to get a new Happy Planner just for that. There we go. All right. This show is being brought to you tonight by Happy Planner. It's really not. I'm just kidding. Anyway, but yeah, it's good stuff. So tell me, take these one at a time, guys. But what are 3 of your favorite things about keeping Torah?
Do you want me to go first?
Zach's looking at you because you have the notes. There we go. Yeah.
I know. I got the notes. So the people, I think that we've met along the way. I think opportunities to do things like this and just share testimony, and like just completely across the nation.
Yeah.
And like we've got to meet some of those people in person, like the Torah observant people that we have come to fellowship with online. It's really cool that we get to meet those people in person. It's cool that for those that don't have local fellowship, they get to get online and meet with other Torah observant people. I think that that's so beautiful. We're really fortunate to have local, but also just the local people that we've met, the people online that have come into our lives because of it. And then let's see.
Just to add real quick on that with the people is like one of the things about our show that we try to really instill is the scripture, iron sharpens iron as a man sharpens another. But when you actually think about iron sharpening iron, it's like a sharpening steel. You have to have 3 things to make that happen. You have to have heat. You have to have friction, which causes the heat. Right. Then you're able to remove the material. So I take that into us sitting around a table and talking about things that we may disagree in, because there is going to be friction. There is going to be heat. But if we're letting the Father be the ultimate decider in our lives, then he's going to use those opportunities to remove those materials from our life. And that doesn't happen overnight, right? It takes some diligent time to sharpen those blades. But we do it in love and having people to do that with, you're going to make leaps and bounds in the sharpness of your sword, as opposed to trying to do it alone. So just want to add that, and go ahead, babe.
That was really good. That's a good word, babe. Okay. So, I really love, like, within kind of the same thing, that like my children don't think we're crazy, because we do have it locally. So they get to see other families like walking it out and celebrating the same things that we are, and giving up the same things that we are. That's completely worth it. And then I love the appointed times. Like I love being able to do that. I love being able to pass it down to them. I love being able to go over every year, over and over and over, because there's always something to learn. Like, even though we're doing it every year, you can like never stop studying. You should never stop studying it. You're always going to continue to learn things. And I like that. I like finding like, oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't put that together before. Just with the word and in Torah and everything. Or like when you're reading the Bible and you realize like, oh, this person was alive at the same time as this person. Yeah. And like their stories kind of intertwine. I love that. Like Boaz's mom was the woman from Jericho, right? Do you know what I'm talking about? Or like he was descended from her. Yeah. He talked about it. Yeah. Yeah, the prostitute who helped Rahab. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So anyways,
there we go.
Go look it up. It's true. And if it's not, just message me.
There we go.
And I'll retract that statement. But it is true. It really is. I just like making those connections. And then I think I had one more. Oh, just that like with the feast that I love to do so much, that like it's a memorial. And like looking to the future days, because that's what it's teaching you about, right? Like people who are just about the New Testament, they say, oh, Old Testament's done away with, but it's really teaching you to look to what's coming. Like everything about these feasts and the Old Testament and Torah, it points you to Messiah. Yeah. And I like finding those connections. I think that's really fun and beautiful.
Yeah, because he just Messiah jumps off of every page. You see him in everything all the way through. I mean, from Genesis to the maps. It's really beautiful. And wow, I like all their answers. The people,
Right.
the friction.
Right.
I like
So my first would definitely be the people, the friction, that that sharpening. But I also have to say, like, before this, I would refer myself as an intellectual. Growing up, if I got in trouble at school, my dad would shave my head. He would take all of my possessions, and he would only give me philosophical books to read from, Plato, Aristotle, whatever. And now I hated it. I absolutely dreaded it. I actually have those books back there. You can't see them. It's all blurred. But so I hated it, but it became a part of my life of thinking in certain type of ways.
Right.
And so that was actually, it's a blessing and a hindrance. It's a blessing because my mind, I can articulate my thoughts clearly. But it's a curse. It was a curse because when it came to scripture, I tried to intellectually figure it out all on my own, to know exactly how it works and be able to explain it in my own conceptualization. Whereas when I came to Torah, it was like, we've used this word before, burdens, like the burden was, it was taken off of me. I don't have to figure these things out. Now there are still, all these awesome, beautiful connections in timeline and all this other stuff I can look at. But at least when it comes to the words themselves, I can take them at face value. And if I have a question, right, I can look at sorry, babe. I can see, I can look at the Greek or the Hebrew to see what that word is really talking about. And so that would be another part. And that kind of ties into the third part, is my desire to, she kind of already said it, like, to keep searching, but it's like my desire to be wrong, almost like my desire to, like, if there's something I'm missing, I want to get rid of that, And so obviously we all have trouble with that in our lives, right? Like, we all have things that we want to hold on to here and there. But I feel like for a lot of things, a lot of parts of my life where I struggled in some of the most crucial parts, because of that relationship, those burdens have been taken away. So another unburdening.
But that just reminds me, it's kind of off topic, but it reminds me of like, I always say that I really love correction, because it means that he loves us. Like, if he is correcting you, it's because he wants better for you. And like, he wants you to know the truth. So just like, correct me, just give me all the correction anytime.
Right. Yeah.
And I really love about Torah that, like, with Shabbat being such a blessing, like, I look forward to it every week. I'm like, oh, can it just be the Sabbath day? I want to do my studies.
Yeah.
I don't want to, well, we leave for like potluck and stuff, but just like delving into this time is the time that he has set apart to be with him. Like, it's not like when people say a day of rest, it's like not for you to never get out of bed and just like chill, but like, you're supposed to be, it's set apart for him. And that's special.
It's not a set apart day for you. It's a set apart day. Like, he did make the Sabbath for us, right? But it's
for
like
us to be with him.
Yeah, but it's not just all about what we want to do. You know what I mean? But obviously, what's changed is our desire. That's what we do want to do.
Our desires have become his desires.
Yeah. So what? This is not one of our typical questions, and this is not a zinger question here. But as far as you know, there we go. What's a there we go. Inquiring minds. What's a typical Shabbat look like for you guys?
So
I'll take that one.
Okay.
Well, when I get up in the morning, we do because he likes to sleep in, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
But I get up with the little ones, and we do children's worship music, and they get pumped. They dance around the living room. It is loud and it is rowdy, and each one of them like wants to be spun. It's really a workout for me, is what it is what it turns into.
Yeah.
There's like sweat involved.
Well, you know, one of the words for praise in the Hebrew means to spin around and around as if in a drunken, violent emotion. There we go.
It's like they know.
Oh,
they
there you
know.
go. Yeah.
Inherent. Yeah, that's what they love.
Yeah.
And then Trevor Mistler. Are you familiar with him at all? He does
Trevor Mishler.
No.
Anyways,
Haven't heard him.
He does a Bible. He does a scripture reading every Saturday morning. So I dive into that. And then the Way Remnant, the
Way Remnant does it. I usually get up, have some coffee, and get on whatever stream is going.
Yeah.
Studies.
And
studies.
start going into studies. And then I'm typically like I spend a lot of my time at the computer because I'm making graphics or animations or shorts or stuff like that. So I like having, just studies in my ear.
But basically by lunch, it's like, okay, we got to get ready because we go to Sabbath service at 2 p.m. every Saturday. Mm-hmm. And so it's just hours. It's hours because it's not just like a teaching. Mm-hmm. We eat together every Saturday. It's a potluck every Saturday, and a Mishnah. What's it called?
A midrash is every fourth, so they do it the last week of the month, and that's like a kind of open discussion where people can just bring up topics and
from the Bible.
Yeah, and
ask questions.
And they pass the microphone around, and then people give kind of their responses or their opinions about it. But then the other three, typically 3 weeks, there's 3 elders that give a teaching on something. It's a pretty long thing, and it's actually really cool. Like, I feel so blessed for being there because like typically we go there and there's like everyone prays together, and then they do they come just hello to everyone, and they do the announcements. But they also do this cool thing where all the ladies get together and they kind of make a Congo line, and they do this like kind of traditional dance, and they do it all the way around the around the congregation, and all the children have like banners.
Everybody Congo. Here we go. Here we got it. Here we go.
What's the song? Do you remember?
Yes, I do.
I sing it every time I do it.
Spot, like I can't.
Sorry.
Like it, like deleted the
Not
thought
important.
from my head. It was like recall not allowed. I'll think about it, but I can't. If I'm put on the spot, I'm not going to think about it.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. But then so they do that. There's some worship music. They do the thing, and the children. Then after all that kind of stuff is done, the children go and do like their own class, and then
they do this really neat thing with the children. They call it the children to the front,
that's
and they
so
have
awesome.
The covering.
They have a covering, and all the parents and all the congregation pray over the children
about like, may your children be good husbands and wives, and that they have Yah's blessing. And it's a song that we sing over them.
Yeah,
and it's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And then there's like a lot of it, and then after the teaching's done, then we all go upstairs and we all bring food and share the food and break bread with each other, and so it's really awesome. And then basically at that point we come home
and we're pooped.
Yeah, we're pooped, right? Because we've had so much,
it's a lot of stimulation.
Yeah, and so at that point we just kind of wound down. Everyone gets in pajamas, and depending on the day. Depends on what's doing,
That's beautiful. Oh, I love it.
I like it because I don't have to make dinner.
Yep.
Yeah, Onig for the win. There we go. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. That's good.
All right. So
What is a typical Shabbat look like for you guys?
There we go.
Oh, so ours.
Flipping it back.
There we go.
Ours is not very.
Yeah, ours isn't as structured.
No, we start Friday evening.
Yeah.
And we will open
Same.
up with he blows the shofar while I light our menorah.
Yeah.
And he'll say the Aaronic blessing. We'll say the Shema together.
Yeah.
We'll do the Kiddush, and like I'll make.
Well, we will have time for prayer.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, we have prayer, and then we'll do the Kiddush, and I'll do like toast, and sometimes it'll just be
gluten-free.
Gluten-free
Toast. There we go.
And sometimes it'll just be like buttered toast or
garlic butter toast.
Or cinnamon butter or something like that, and we'll do the Kiddush with that, and then we'll usually just read and talk about scripture. Like he'll read a few things that's on his heart, and then I'll read a few things.
And because we don't have a local fellowship here,
Right.
and it just turns in. Sometimes it's not super long, maybe an hour.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes we
go all night.
We go all night. Yeah. And it's just as the Spirit leads, and then on Saturday we just take it easy, and fight not to do projects and things like
He's
that.
He's project guy.
Yeah. And so we will. Unless it's something like an ox that's fallen in the ditch or something like that, we won't do it, and we'll just it is so beautiful, and people don't realize that you need that rest.
Mm-hmm.
We are so
in
our American way of thinking that if you're burning daylight, you should be doing something productive. You know what?
Go all the time.
We are bringing our bodies down, and we're resting in Yah, and it's such a beautiful thing.
What's kind of a cool thing about that with our children is when they know it's Friday night, they're like, woohoo, we don't have to do school. Tomorrow, right? So even with that,
they're
right?
Like, we don't
it's
have to
like,
clean our rooms.
Yeah, like it's like a sweet taste to them, right? And I love that. I love that there's something that they're drawn to, even if it is, just, hey, we don't have to do schoolwork.
Yeah.
It's something like that they feel relieved from, right? Like, like I don't have to wake up and start doing school. I can, watch super books and dance around and go outside, so it's awesome.
That's great. That's great.
That's cool.
And they do a shofar blowing every Shabbat too at the service.
They do.
He does.
Yeah, they do it every, like, in the opening. There's so many parts to it. It's like it's kind of a lot but it's really, it doesn't feel like ritualistic or anything like that. It's like I'm excited for each of the parts. It's really cool.
We've got Yom Teruah coming up, and where we live in Moundsville, and there's a really, really high peak that's up.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go.
It's a park. It's on a mountain.
It's a park, and there's this beautiful view of this whole city. And so we're going to carry some stuff up there. We're going to bring our shofar, and we're going to let it rip tater chip up there. It's going to be good stuff. So, yeah.
We give the children little, like, plastic shofars.
Yeah.
So they get so excited to do it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And they don't want to let go. Like, they don't want to put it down because they're like, this is only like a day. We only get to do this for a day.
Right.
And we actually just did that. So we're on the Zadok, I guess. This is our first year on the Zadok, the priestly calendar, whatever, because our new congregation, our old congregation was on the Jewish, I'll just say the Jewish calendar. We were as well.
Pharisaic one,
Yep. And so even that, learning and being willing to switch times, it's so.
I think it's beautiful. We get so many people arguing about the calendars. I'm just excited people are trying to do everything, and I just love it. Let's see. Sorry to interrupt Jeff and Miranda, but which days are you guys keeping Yom Teruah? We're going to keep it on
starts Tuesday evening.
Tuesday evening for us. I know I was talking with Ian before we got on the show. He's celebrating tomorrow, and you guys celebrated when last couple days?
Monday
of last week.
Tuesday
of last week. Yeah. Yeah, so there we go. So yeah,
I don't even know what today is.
And see that's like you brought up, like the without doing the the bickering of the calendar. Like I'll be the first to say, like, guys, I've looked into the calendars, and each one of them I come to a thing where I'm like, I don't.
Could be that. Could be.
Right. And so I've kind of come to the conclusion that it might be one of the things that the two witnesses revealed to us, like, hey, by the way, this is the actual day we're on. Yeah. So I'm not hardline.
We'll be the last people to give advice about which calendar to use.
Yeah, totally.
We're behind you guys, so we're the last. Yeah, we'll fight over that position.
Yeah. Right now we're following Michael Rood's calendar. That's when we're
following that one, and
we've been on that one for what, a year
and a half, something like that.
Yeah, almost 2 years.
And then we were listening to JP tonight. In fact, tonight before we guys got on from the Way Biblical Fellowship, and he had some new stuff that y'all had been talking to him about with the calendar. So. So it's a fascinating topic to get into and study, and the big thing is find, get out there and at least try to do what Yah is telling us to do. We may not get everything perfect, and that's where grace comes in. People say all the time, this is a cult. You guys are trying to earn your way to salvation, guys. No. We are practicing loving our Father the way He has told us to love Him,
right?
And we're already in covenant, and we're just trying to walk that covenant out. And it is such a beautiful thing
and a blessing
to do this. And
I
can tell you this. I was a pastor. I've been in the ministry for 30 plus years. Pastored full time for 4 years. Started ministry when I was 17, and I've been through every kind of passion play and Christmas pageant and all these other kinds of things, and I've done the sunrise service. I've done the sunrise service on Easter, and then we had an Easter ham on service after service and rolled Easter eggs on the ground. I've done all that, and I can tell you I've never felt the presence of God. And this is I came out of the charismatic church, and we're speak in tongues and do all this other fun stuff, and I've never felt the Spirit of God quite like following Torah and allowing the Spirit of God to move. It is such a beautiful thing that's not forced. That's just awesome.
Oh yeah. Yep. I completely agree.
That whole Easter ham, pretty ironic.
Oh yeah. Father God wants to bless this thing that you call an abomination. We celebrate the non-sign of your Messiah. There we go. Gosh, you get into all that stuff. Yeah. I've been there, done that. There you go. Yeah. Hey, MB, if you want to come up, man, come on. Let's go. We will. We'll do it. Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. We actually Tuesday went to a park about an hour away with our congregation, and there was like 30 people blowing their shofars at this park, and it was so epic. We blew to the east, and then we turned and blew to the south, and turned and blew to the west, and then turned and blew to the north, and it was just like you could feel like everyone was there, like, hey, Father, I hope you hear this. It
was a sight to behold, and public park, so people are walking by like, what is
going on?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Where were we at? Was it just Sabbath? We were camping one year with your mom and dad?
Yeah. That was at North Bend
State Park. We had our camper there. Her mom and dad have their camper across the way, and I think it was just Sabbath.
Yeah, we were just doing where we light our menorah.
So we broke out our menorah on our picnic table out by our camper, and we're getting our little things all set up, and we've got our Bibles, and we've got tallits on. We're and boy, I tell you what, because I was in the band. I was a band geek. I played trumpet back in the day, right? So I've got some lungs, and man, when we let that shofar off, woo! Yeah, I tell you what, yeah, it was loud. It was loud. It was great. So yeah,
turning some heads.
People's like, wow, is the rapture happening right now? Right. All the preachers guys.
What trumpet are we on?
Yeah, right. Oh, that was cool. That was cool.
guys, what would you say to somebody who is just looking into Torah? Maybe they're questioning, maybe they've heard some things. What would be your advice?
I would tell them that a lot of Jewish culture gets mixed in, and like, don't trade your Christmas for doing Hanukkah the same way.
Yeah.
Like, take every single thing back to the scripture, because it's like, it's heartbreaking when you're giving all of this up because you're learning the roots of it, and then you're adopting something just because this is how some rabbi told a person to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think that when people start looking into this, there's so much Jewish culture that you have to like
dodge.
Yeah, you have to get around it and figure out like, okay, what does the word actually say about this? What are we supposed to actually be following? What's man-made? I don't want it just breaks my heart to see anybody trade one man-made doctrine for another man-made doctrine.
Right.
Instead of just doing what the word says and just like really try to use your discernment. That was one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say like, just for me, like, okay. And this is just like a more of a personal thing, because I am a very, like I said, outspoken, zealous type of person, right? So the reason why I have so much sympathy for people who want to call Globers idiots, or, you know, like for Globers to call us idiots for believing what we believe. I used to be in that same route. So just take your time and realize that the whole point of Messiah is there to make up for your shortcomings. Okay. So in your heart, you may be in your heart doing it correctly, but not acting it out physically correctly. And that's okay. And that will change, that will grow. So, take it slow. Don't think that you have to don't make it burdensome by thinking all of a sudden you have to fulfill all of these statutes and instructions instantly. Remember that he's there helping you along the way, and that, just to do it and not be doing it in your heart does nothing for you. If you're circumcised, but you don't walk that out, it does nothing for you. So, just take it slow. Let the Father put onto your heart what he wants you to focus on, instead of trying to focus on what the Father's telling everyone else to focus on. That would be my advice.
I love both of your answers there. That not leaving one set of traditions and going into the other one, and taking it slow. I think that we have this Happy Meal mindset going on in our culture, where we have to get every week we have to learn the greatest and latest revelation. Mm-hmm. Take some time and chew on, meditate on what you've already been given. And I love that. Slow down. If you read what Peter wrote, Peter talks about adding to these precious promises. And he goes through a list. And in that list, that's not something that you can just do overnight. Like, hey, I've got the list. I'm going to do this. No, those are things that take years.
Lifetimes.
And so take your time. I love that. Take your time and don't jump. Hey, listen, we followed after Marcion all of our lives in this churchianity, modern church thing that we have going on today. Don't trade all those traditions and then go over to Big Brother Judah and take all the talk and note that Yeshua came to correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Man, those are some great answers.
Yeah.
I think too, like, once you're in Torah, people because you're passionate about what you believe, but people have the tendency to get a haughty spirit.
Yeah.
And then, like, oh, I don't eat pork, I'm better than you.
Right.
I celebrate these feasts instead of the mainstream holidays, I'm better than you. And so just for people who are like in it, who have made the decision, like, I would just say, please stay humble and please just let his light shine through you, because you're not going to lead anyone that way. Like, Yah uses us to like talk to people and live out our lives and walk the walk, but like ultimately it's going to be him who does it, not you, when you're like, I'm high and mighty because I do these things now.
Yeah, like he literally says his land is full of overflowing of milk and honey, not vinegar and yogurt, you know. Like,
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah.
So being able to, because like just in an example of not exactly, but as an example of things that I've seen in the community, let's use tzitzits, right? Like a person who's never worn tzitzit is around, or people talking about, hey, we all wear tzitzits.
Yeah.
You need, right? And so if that person hadn't, if that person is not being personally convicted, like, hey, you need to look into tzitzits and you need to get some on, right? You don't, other people don't need to be like, hey, I thought you were Torah. Where's your tzitzits?
Yeah.
You know, where's your long beard? Where's your head covering? Where's your, you know,
the calendar.
Yeah. What calendar do you keep? What, you know, what time are you, like all of those things. We got to realize we're all on the path. We're just in different parts of the path, and we don't need to be turning around. If we feel like we're ahead of a person, we don't need to turn around and be like, hey, why aren't you where I am? You know, we need to support them where they are, and they can support us where we are, and, you know, as we go through it together. So
yeah, that's nice. Yeah, Paul said, for we all know in part and we all prophesy in part. So, you know, Paul is knowing in part. Man, his part that he knows, wow. We just have a tiny little bit that we know.
right.
Praise Yah. That's nice. And we need to still, you know, one of the biggest things that the scripture also teaches is not only is one way, how do we know if we're a part of the brethren that we keep his commandments, but we also we have love for one another.
Right.
And too many times that haughty spirit gets in. And listen, pride comes before the fall. You know, if we're all Torah, if we're all wanting to get into the Tanakh, pride comes before the fall. And we need to make sure that we're lifting up our brothers. It talks about one of the fruit of the spirit is being long suffering. And so those are good things too. I mean, you know, that's part of his word. So that's great. All right, guys, last question here. Zinger question number 9. I'm just kidding. What is your favorite verse concerning Torah? What's your favorite verse? Like if you
I actually meant to take mine isn't in Torah. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay, because
it's all Torah.
Well, just
it's not in the Tanakh.
Okay, it's not in the Tanakh. Well, and I meant to grab one. I really did.
Concerning Torah, concerning Torah.
Okay, and I let that one slip. But it says, "Do we then make void the law through faith?"
Oh,
certainly
that's
not.
Torah.
On the contrary, we establish the law. And that's Romans 3:31.
I love that. That's like it's in the New Testament.
Right.
Yeah.
There. Yeah.
You can't disregard it, people.
Yeah. To the right of Matthew. Hello. Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
That's a really good one.
I like that.
So I would say mine changes all the time, but this is currently my favorite just because it was something that I read, and then it was like, you know, people say like y'all doesn't talk to you, but like he directly talked to me through this.
Yeah.
And like kind of give me like, good job, son. You're on the right path. So during this Passover, so I read this, and this is Exodus. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read 2 of them. Let me pull it up real quick. Let me go. Okay, so this is Exodus 12:25 and 26, and it says, where am I? And it shall come to pass when ye be come to the land which the Lord will give you, according as the promise, that ye shall keep this service. And then on 26 it says, and it shall come to pass when your children shall say unto you, what so it's 3, what ye mean by this service? So why are we doing this? And then in 27 it says, that ye shall say, it is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. And the people bowed the head and worshipped. So this Passover, my eldest son, Zevrik, asked this same thing. And I had just read this. And I'm like, hey, babe, isn't this so cool how he just tells you exactly what you have to say? And then I swear it was like the next day, maybe not, but
I think it was that same day.
It may have been
we
the
were
same
sitting
day.
at the table and Sebi was like, Dad,
hey,
why
Dad,
do we do this?
Why do we do Passover? And it was like him, like it was like the Father saying, see, if you're on the right track, your child is going to ask you this question and you got to be prepared to answer, and had just read it. So it was it was such a spiritual, emotional experience when it happened. Like I literally teared up to when my son asked me that, because I was like, dude, you don't even know what that means to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh man, that's good.
So what we've never done, and this would be cool to do in the future, we've never got a kid on here to tell what it was like from their perspective when their parents came to Torah, or if their parents were already in Torah, when they were born, what was life like being raised in Torah? That would be a really cool video.
May do that.
That would be a cool video.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, because I don't think we've ever seen, at least we haven't.
Yeah.
We've not got to hear that perspective.
We've not had any people that have had kids kind of old enough to really get to that place. So that'd be a great idea. That'd be a great idea.
Totally.
I'd watch that.
Yeah. Well, praise God. This has been you guys have been an absolute delight tonight to talk with. This has been just so good. We love this series because we have people that are looking into this. This is kind of a new thing for them. They're like, we've kind of heard a little bit about this, and I think it's encouraging for people to know that, hey, the first time that we kept Passover, it wasn't perfect. We thought we were eating clean, and 6 months later we found out that our favorite food had this in it.
My gosh! Can I just tell you a quick story about that?
Yeah.
So at this service that we used to go to, I had made this huge bowl, and I just found out last year. Okay, I just found out last fall, and the children walked up to me. I was like, "Did you get some of this treat that I made?" And they were like, "We can't eat that." The parents said nothing to me, bless their heart, but the children were like, "Lady, you messed up. We can't eat that." And I was like, "Why?" And they were like, "You can't have candy corn. It has gelatin." And I was like, "I've been feeding it to my children for a month.
Yep.
You can't have candy corn." And so one of the moms had texted me. She was like, "Listen, I know how much you love candy corn. Here's the kosher candy corn. This is where you order it from." And I just felt and I had made goodie bags for all of our neighbors in the neighborhood. So I was just feeding everybody pork. So you live and you learn, and I'm so sorry, but it happens. Okay.
Oh my God.
And you can't, and that's the stuff is I feel like a lot of people may get to that and say, what all of it's clean. I don't need to worry about that. And that's not the way to go. The way to go is he put that conviction on your heart for a reason. So now, and as she's done, she's so much more diligent. When she gets a candy bag that's full of, of a variety, she'll spend the 5-10 minutes to read all the ingredients to make sure that we're not getting something we're not supposed to.
He literally called me. He was like, "What is taking you so long at the grocery store?" And I was like, "I'm picking up candy. This is taking forever. Sorry."
So, so that's part of it.
Oh, it is. And the thing is that, listen, I just want to tell our people out there that are super legalists, there's things right now that you're probably eating or drinking that probably has pork in it,
and you don't know it.
and you don't know it because listen, we have a real enemy that is seeking every way that he can think of possibly to introduce poisons, unclean things into all of our food, our air, everything that we have. And we have to be diligent about the things that we know. And there's going to be grace for the times that we do an inadvertent sin or one that we don't know about. And there was sacrifice in the Levitical law for a sin that you didn't know you did.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, accidental, you know.
And it humbles you too, because you think you've got it, and then no, you don't. You don't have it.
Hey, I'll share one with you. My daughter and I had started going biblically clean with our eating, and we used to love to go to Popeyes. You know, we were from down south, and loved that chicken from Popeyes. And I may ruin some things for somebody here, but the mashed potatoes, the mashed potatoes have pork in it. The gravy has got bits of pork in it, and we had been eating that and just chomping away. And praise God, we're not eating that pork and just going at it, you know.
And then when we first got married, we were green beans.
Oh, those green beans.
Green beans that had lard in it. We didn't
realize it had lard. Yeah. So just little things, and it's not that you're trying to nitpick everything, but as God brings things to you and opens your eyes, you just, okay, Father, we'll just, that's off the list, and what are you going to replace it with? Because he always gives us something else and something better.
He does, like marshmallows. I was really sad to learn about marshmallows. Now we're just chomping on those vegan marshmallows. And Mandy, if she's still in the chat, she has a good
recipe,
homemade marshmallow recipe. Yeah,
ooh, Mandy needs to share that like today.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually
it's in the Discord.
If you go to the Discord and go to the recipes, it's right there.
Yeah,
nice.
She's really good about sharing those recipes.
Oh yeah,
that's good.
Very cool.
That's
Very
good.
cool.
That's good, guys. It's been lovely. It's been just really great. We sure have gotten to know you a little bit better. Look forward to maybe doing some more collaborations in the future.
Yeah, if you guys want to do a show on a topic, hit us up.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we probably would not be quite as frictiony as you're used to, because I think we probably agree a lot on the same lines, especially if you believe in pre-tribulation, once saved, always saved things.
He can't help himself. Yes.
That's fine.
Just got to string the banjo sometimes.
There you go. There we go. Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't bring up the Hindu gods.
Oh, we could do that too. That's good stuff. But hey, but listen, this has been great tonight. We really appreciate you guys coming on. Do you have a final parting word you guys want to say before we head out?
The Abba loved you first.
Oh,
right? That's what you always say.
You're still in my line.
Yeah, that's what he always says. Just remember, Abba loved you first.
I'll say, obviously, thank you for having us on. It as a pleasure for us to have a conversation, and we'll have to maybe kind of flip it around and get and question y'all and get y'all's testimony in a conversation at some point, because I'd love and even if it's not recorded, just to chat sometime. So
it'll be a 2 or 3 hour show, brother. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to do those questions, man, because if you didn't do those questions, I could have gotten to so many topics, right? I feel like we just kind of hit the nut, like the very top layer of the shell. So but thank you for having us. Shout out Chris and Liz, take on the world, y'all, all of y'all on chat. Hope to see y'all over on the Circle of the Earth Fellowship. And of course, if you're not subscribed to the Way Remnant YouTube channel, make sure you go over there and subscribe to their YouTube to support them as well as they grow the channel. So but other than that, as my wife said, Abba loved y'all first. Just remember.
Oh, amen.
Love it.
All right, guys, we'll see you here in just a minute. Hang out for a little bit, all right?
Absolutely.
All right, shalom. Oh, hey, that was so wonderful. When we talked about doing this series again, I was so excited because
we love these videos.
This is one of my favorite videos, is getting to meet people and see see, everybody's story is so different.
Yep.
So different. I remember when we first started doing this series, in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, after the first show, it's going to be just rinse and repeat. It's going to be the same thing all the time. Every show is different. Guys, listen, we have a whole series of these. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can find them on Take on the World, but it's a little difficult. But if you go to our the Way Remnant, go to YouTube, find the Way Remnant, and it's one of our playlists. It's How I Came to Torah. This one will be popping in there after tonight. But we have several. I think this is maybe 9 or 10 now we've been up to in this series, and it's really great. I'm so honored to have the Vader Bear and MrsVader on with us tonight.
So cool.
That is so cool. We're in talks. Chris and Liz are talking about doing an episode with us. We're in talks with Nathan and Chelsea Reynolds about coming on and doing How They Came to Torah. It's such a wonderful thing because there's so much negativity with this nowadays, and we just want to break it down and show you people in everyday life are coming to Torah, and there's no certain way how God does it.
Right.
There's no one big leader that's doing this except for the Father, and He's doing that with His Spirit all over the place. So it's just great stuff. It's great stuff. We appreciate everybody in the chat. Guys, if you've liked this show, we ask you to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button here on Take on the World. If you're not subscribed there, hit the little bell so you get notifications. We have shows coming on all the time on Take on the World. And then over at our channel, hit the like and subscribe button there so you'll catch all the stuff, because sometimes we may do programs just over there because sometimes we things are a little busy over here. So it's been great.
Yeah. It's
been great. Do you got anything else before we head out? All right, guys. Well, we love you. We appreciate everybody being here. We ask that you pray for us. Keep watch for us. We have some exciting more things coming up pretty soon, and we will see you later. Shalom, shalom. Bye, guys.